committee meeting of August 24th, 2026. Welcome, everybody. We're back from our break. Before we get going with the agenda this evening, we recently lost a former councilman, Larry Miners from the city of Avon Lake. I'm going to ask Mr. Kaz to make a few comments.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Mrs. Fenderbosch is going to follow me with comments as well, too. Larry served on Avon Lake City Council representing Ward 3 for 14 years. And for a good number of years, Jennifer and I, he sat between Jennifer and I, where Miss Gentry is sitting right now. And he was very dedicated to the city of Avon Lake. He was a very good council person. But more importantly than that, he loved this city and he loved this country. He was a decorated Vietnam veteran. He was awarded the Bronze Star in Vietnam. And he dedicated much of his later years that he was still here in the city, not just to city council, but also to the American Legion, and he was in their leadership for many years. And Larry will be missed. I used to enjoy the debates we would have on things. You could not have two people further apart in our political ideologies, but we always got along. I always respected him, and I considered him a friend. And Larry was a great guy, and he's going to be greatly missed. Thank you.
Mrs. Fenderbosch.
Thank you very much, President. It's really hard because Larry's a real complex guy. He loved Avon Lake, as it was said, and in the military and all the traditions and family. And he always wanted to protect the kids. And he was a businessman who had been in sales for a number of years. He had national sales accounts. And he brought that experience along with his financial understanding to City Council. He could sell an ice cube to an Eskimo, as they say. Larry also, as David said, had strong opinions like we all do up here. And sometimes, we didn't match up. But I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, after the end of council, he'd come up and he'd shake everybody's hand. He didn't go off with a tough. He didn't go off with an attitude. His neighbors loved him. He was always there for his neighbors and for their pets. And he's going to be sorely missed. He has grandchildren in this community, and he has a son and two daughter-in-laws in this community, and a former wife. So his family roots are here. Thank you, David.
Thank you both. If everyone could stand up for a second, and we'll have a moment of silence for Mr. Miners. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is public input. Members of the audience are permitted to speak only once, up to 5 minutes on any topic, and come on forward. Your name and the city you live in, please.
Okay. Here's one for everybody up here. My name is Mike Cernobrinya. I'm an Avon Laker, and the clock's going. The topic is autism. In 1911, the medical and scientific term autism was invented. It meant adults whose thinking became senseless from drug and alcohol abuse. In late 1929, mercury thimerosal was added to vaccines as a preservative. In 1930, only in the United States, babies started being born with an unknown illness. As the mercury vaccine spread to African missions, babies in Africa started being born with unknown illness. As mercury thimerosal spread to different countries around the world, babies started being born with unknown medical illness. In 1938, autism was redefined. It was given the name to babies that were born with unknown medical illness. So now they had a name for it. In 2001, to test the theory mercury thimerosal was the cause of autism, mercury thimerosal was removed from vaccines. Babies still were being born with autism. What the FDA, CDC, and AMA forgot to mention, thimerosal was added to vaccines for pregnant women, added to eye, ear, nose, and throat over-the-counter meds in stores with pharmacies. According to the CDC and FDA, mercury thimerosal could create autism, only there is not enough dosage of mercury thimerosal now or ever to create autism. April 2, 2027, that's next year, President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. plan to start autism awareness. President Trump is going to ask all Americans to donate heavily to help researchers discover the root cause of autism. If anyone believes the root cause of autism is still unfound, not known, please donate heavily to autism awareness, April 2nd, 2027. President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are counting on you. And I made this short and sweet because running against this clock, I'm the loser. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Good evening. Name and city, please.
Good evening. Alex Wicker, Avon Lake. Last time we talked, I talked about how flock cameras in Avon Lake pose a greater threat and hassle to taxpayers than the services they claim to offer. I cited reputable sources from all over the country describing how flock has failed to operate responsibly and how the technology is inherently a threat to civil rights. Since then, more examples of flock's malicious actions have come to light, in addition to how their cameras are being used by bad actors. I previously focused on how flock employees were shown to tap into their cameras and live stream feeds directly into the offices viewing public community centers, women's fitness centers, and children's swimming pools. Today I'll start with how those intended to use flock are abusing the access to a growing surveillance state. As ABC 6 News reports, in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, 2 police officers resigned after the department launched a separate internal affairs investigation into their alleged use of department's flock safety LPRs, the cameras. ABC6 News records show investigators questioned whether officers Mark Nichols and Alyssa Burkheimer repeatedly searched the same license plates without a legitimate law enforcement purpose. Both officers resigned before they were scheduled to be interviewed by investigators. Department records show both officers were served notices to appear for administrative interviews as part of their respective internal affairs investigations. Nichols resigned the day before his scheduled interview. Burkheimer also submitted her resignation before her scheduled interview. How convenient. In Brookfield, Wisconsin, Local 12 News reports a woman was pulled over and had guns drawn on her twice after flock cameras wrongly flagged her car as being involved in a homicide. Amber Newell was pulled over in I-94 where interstate cameras saw multiple police officers with guns drawn. Brookfield police say they pulled over Newell because her car had been flagged in a Milwaukee homicide, but when contacted the Milwaukee Police Department, the department said they no longer needed the car or the people inside. Whoops. Newell was let go, but this was the second time that week she says she was wrongly pulled over. She says she was also stopped at gunpoint by officers in Milwaukee last Monday, adding police never told her why she was detained. They just towed her car and let her go. Reporters reached out to Milwaukee police to see why Newell's car was still active in the flock system. The department said it wasn't an issue with flock, but a personal issue as staff failed to remove the wanted vehicle alert from the system. Happy little accidents, am I right? Reports like these raise broader questions about how flock and police monitor officer access to flock systems and how frequently searches are audited for compliance with department policies. Such questions include, what prompted these departments to conduct so many unwarranted flock searches? How frequently are officers' flock search histories reviewed? Will all officers be subject to said audit? Have departments changed their oversight or auditing procedures since these investigations? This technology is evidently unsafe, regardless of how noble or good the cause may appear. Every liberty that's surrendered in the name of security is another innocent victim lost to government overreach. Now, fortunately, it's not all doom and gloom. As disgusting as this company and all that it stands for may be, the good people of Ohio are the shining beacon and the end to this tunnel. In the Cincinnati suburb of Union Township, police accused Cody Morlock of disassembling the cameras, its support pole, and a solar panel attached to it on June 13th this year. Morlock was identified after obtaining surveillance footage from other cameras near the scene, as well as information linked to a credit card and a customer rewards account with an estimated $1,000 in damages. Although being accused of a felony, a Clermont County grand jury opted not to indict Morlock, and the charges were dismissed. Counselors, how easy is it for any good prosecutor to have a grand jury indict anything? How hard do you need to try in order to convince a grand jury not to indict something? Prosecutors had plenty of evidence which convinced them that Morlock did indeed intentionally destroy these cameras, and yet the people said no. The incident in Union Township is part of an ongoing trend that has seen dozens of flock cameras vandalized across the country. Earlier this month, police in Winona, Minnesota reported that someone had cut down, stolen each of the city's 8 license plate reader cameras. Social media users also are promoting an organized event known as Deflock America Night, encouraging people to vandalize or obscure flock cameras on Halloween. The backlash against flock has intensified as a growing number of police officers have been accused of or charged with abusing the technology, often to stalk romantic interests. As of August 12th, there have been more than 100 cases of abuse with law enforcement. Counselors, the people of Avon Lake do not need these cameras. They do not want these cameras. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Mr. Phillips, good evening.
Gerald Phillips, Avon Lake. The right to petition one's government, democracy, freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, the First Amendment, United States Constitution, Ohio Constitution, Article 1, Section 3, provides for the right to petition one's government for redress of grievances. The Ohio Constitution provides for this right to petition one's government for the redress of grievances. Article 2, Section 1, the legislative power of the state shall be vested in a General Assembly, but the people reserve to themselves the power to propose laws and amendments to the Constitution and to adopt or reject at the polls laws by a referendum right. Article 2, Section 1 provides for the right of initiative to propose laws. Article 2, Section 1B provides for the right of referendum upon laws passed. Article 2, Section 1F guarantees the right of initiative and referendum to all the people of each municipality and all questions authorized to be controlled by legislative action. Article 16 provides for amendments to the Ohio Constitution. Article 18, the Home Rule provisions in the Ohio Constitution. Section 8 and 9 provide for city charters and amendments thereto. The city charter for a city is like its constitution. The right to petition the government is one of the fundamental freedoms guaranteed by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution. The right allows individuals to express their grievances, requests, or demands to the government without fear of retaliation. The U.S. Supreme Court has referred to this right to petition for redress of grievances as among the most precious of the liberties safeguarded by the Bill of Rights. The freedom of petition or right to petition is a cornerstone of democracy. It empowers citizens to use our freedom of speech to raise our concerns to the government. By exercising this right, we can actively participate in democracy by demanding action from the representatives who work for the people. The people use this newfound right to petition to question the legality of government's actions, to present their views on controversial matters, and to demand that the government, as the creature and servant of the people, be responsible to the popular will. The right to vote is fundamental to sustaining democracy. It forms the cornerstone of democratic governance by ensuring that all citizens have a voice in the decisions that shape their lives. Protecting and promoting these rights is critical for maintaining the integrity and inclusivity of democratic system. The right to vote, essential to a well-functioning democratic democracy is the most enshrined right in the Constitution. Voting is the language of American democracy. Voting is the cornerstone of democracy. It's how citizens shape laws, hold leaders accountable, ensure their voices influence decisions that affect their daily life. Voting is the most fundamental, important activity of our democracy. It empowers citizens to make their voices heard, to hold elected officials accountable, and to set the policy agenda for the communities and states. The Charter Amendment to provide the electorate the right to vote upon the Avon Lake Power Plant is a prime example of the exercise of these two precious constitutional rights, right to petition one's government and the right to vote, which are founded, based, and embedded in both the U.S. and Ohio Constitution. What is wrong with giving the right to vote upon the future development of the Avon Lake Power Plant to the electorate? What is wrong with the electorate petitioning one government, exercising the right to amend their city charter? Democracy and our freedoms should be honored every day. But on Memorial Day, we especially honor those members of our armed services who have given the ultimate sacrifice, their lives for our freedoms and democracy. To state or claim that the exercise of these two rights, democratic, constitutional, and freedoms, the right to petition one government and the right to vote, is destructive, destroying, and devastating to Avon Lake, is an insult, mockery, and appalling to those members of the armed service who have died or have worn a uniform. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Anybody else coming up? Good evening, Mr. Zimmerman.
Good evening. William Zimmerman, beautiful Avon Lake. As you all know, I've been out gathering signatures for petitions. We filed one early last week. There'll be more filed here in the next few days. So, I've had an opportunity to speak with thousands of citizens. Hours and hours. They all feel as though our current administration has failed them. They believe that there's a lack of transparency. There's no objective plan, and a lack of fiscal responsibility. Now, I've had conversations with them about the incident that happened up at the ALERG power plant site. Our mayor was involved in a cover-up. As an ex-chief of police, one would think he would be well-versed in proper protocol. But when we have a lieutenant receive a call from a lieutenant in North Ridgeville on a cellular phone, not through proper channels, not through the city, not through the switchboard, not from anybody except his own personal cell phone. They asked Lieutenant Fabrizi, who then gathers Lieutenant Carrender, and they go to the site. Carrender calls the mayor to get the code to enter into the lockbox to retrieve the key. My problem is that event by itself should have had body cam video, or at least a report that was filed afterwards. The mayor should have filed a report because they called him. Now, has he been advised by the law director not to do that? To potentially break the law? If so, that's just one more showing of our law director's inability to follow the rule of law. So no information was given about the incident. No integrity, no transparency. Nobody knows anything about it. I've been to North Ridgeville, talked with their mayors, their prosecutor, their law director. It's a mystery. I don't understand that. Somebody should have had something written and documented about the incident and how and why it occurred. Instead, there's nothing. A cover-up. I believe that's a criminal offense. Speaking of criminal offenses, so you all know I make public records requests. And the law director takes it upon himself to give me pages like this. I spoke to a federal judge this weekend. This is illegal. It's a criminal act. But nobody cares because we don't obey by the rule of law. Selective prosecution. Same thing I endured with the whole ALERG thing. Guys choose not to do whatever you don't want to do. Lack of integrity. It's endless here. At some point, the citizens will have the final say, and you'll all be gone. Because we'll find better people. Not people with a personal agenda, but people who care about the city and want things to be better. Right now, that's not happening. I attended a meeting with Kayla the other day. Somebody made an off remark about Ted Esborn, and she says, no, you can't say that. Although she said at the beginning of the meeting it was an open area for open conversation. No doubt that you were able to say what you thought.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to come forward? All right, seeing none, the public input of the collective committee meeting is closed. There is a standing committee meeting of the environmental committee meeting, and I'll turn this over to Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you. The environmental committee meeting is called to order at 7:22 p.m. There is a quorum with committee members myself, Rob Shamir, and Jeff Smith. The first order of business is the approval of minutes from the June 15th, 2026 environmental committee meeting. Are there any corrections or corrections to the minutes? Sorry.
None for me.
There being no corrections to the minutes are approved as prepared and published. Next, and the reason for the meeting tonight was a presentation from Power Clean Future Ohio by Alyssa Johnson. I was introduced to this organization by a former member of the Environmental Advisory Board, John Patraziba, who actually is the communications director for PCFO. And it makes a lot of sense for us to maybe think about entering into the PCFO agreement. It is no cost to us, and I will definitely let Alyssa take the reins on this, but I saw it as an opportunity to help us with some technical assistance, maybe some grant finding, and she happened to be free this evening, so we put it on the books. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa to let everyone know what's going on. So thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Alyssa Johnson. I'm the Director of Partnerships and Programs for Power a Clean Future Ohio, Northeastern Ohio resident as well. I live over in Lakewood. So some information about Power a Clean Future Ohio. So our mission is Power a Clean Future Ohio is building a momentum now for a clean, prosperous future by equipping local leaders for equitable, community-driven carbon reductions in Ohio. So we were established in 2020, and we currently serve 56 member governments across the state of Ohio, representing 45% of Ohioans. I'm currently living in a PCFO member community. It is no cost for local governments to join PCFO. They pass a resolution, and then they get into our members of our membership, which I'll have more information about that. We exist at the intersection of saving communities money, creating healthy environments, and improving quality of life for residents. So, as I mentioned, we have 56 PCFO communities. On the map, you can see a list of where they all are. We have a very high concentration of folks up in northeastern Ohio, which is awesome. So I get to work with really awesome local governments across this area day in and day out. And our size of communities ranges from small communities of 3,000 to counties as well. So Cuyahoga County is a member county, Lucas County as well. So we've got a really diverse membership base across the state of Ohio. I have a personal goal of getting more folks in the southeastern and northwestern area, just because there's a little bit of a lack of communities in that area for us. Like I mentioned, we help communities lower energy costs. We support communities growing a clean energy economy in Ohio. We help guide communities through carbon emission reductions through policies and programs. And then we partner a lot with communities just to help implement the goals of the community. So there is no one-size-fits-all membership for Power a Clean Future Ohio. The work that we provide and the technical assistance that we provide is really driven from the goals that the community has. And so why this work matters. So in 2022, Power a Clean Future Ohio, in partnership with the Ohio Environmental Council and Scioto Analysis, issued a report called The Bill is Coming Due, which calculates the financial cost of climate change to Ohio's local governments. And in this report talks about increased costs for road infrastructure, AC installation in school districts, stormwater management. And as you all know, we have had a lot of rain over the past couple of weeks here. And so just like the increase of severe storms, things of that nature, and the impact to a city's budget in terms of mitigating the effects of climate. We offer free technical assistance for our member governments across a couple key policy areas, which includes energy, transportation, and land use. So we work a lot on energy efficiency, we work a lot on transportation, renewable energy as well, land use, and then general consulting. Some examples of our technical assistance that we have worked with other communities on includes thinking about building performance standard policies and programs. We offer free greenhouse gas inventories. If a community is interested in setting any sort of reduction goal, they have a good baseline to work off of. We help do emission reduction strategies. On the transportation side, we work heavily on fleet electrification assessments, public transportation assistance, and then also just community EV adoption. So if there is ever an interest to put in EV chargers places, our folks on the technical assistance team that we have can help do that mapping. We worked a lot with NOACA for their CFI grant that they got 2 years ago to help think through siting of infrastructure in the communities as an example. In our renewable energy side of the house, we do community choice aggregation education for communities. So municipalities across the state of Ohio have the right to have enabling legislation for aggregation. So we do a lot of education for that. Ordinance and zoning code reviews as well. Energy burden assessments. On the land use side, I think our tree canopy assessments are some of my favorite things to look at, because I like to look at the heat map of a community's tree canopy, which helps direct where they might want to plant trees. If there is a gap in that canopy, and inclusive of our tree canopy assessment, it also comes with recommendations for native plants and native trees as well. Brownfield redevelopment strategies we have been getting more into, just given the impact to House Bill 15 and renewable energy development with the intersection of brownfields. Again, zoning code revisions show up in our land use category as well, and then general consulting work that we do. We've been engaging more heavily at the Public Utility Commission of Ohio, so supporting local governments in rate case intervention or public comments. I live in the city of Lakewood. We have fallen victim to a lot of just issues with our power grid, and so Lakewood is a PCFO community as well, so we've been doing a lot of work with Mayor George around wanting to boost her leadership in this space as it relates to accountability for the investor-owned utility. Grant application assistance as well. So if there's a particular project that you might be looking for and don't have the time to scan all of the federal and state grant opportunities, our team can keep a lookout for that as well. We offer communications and storytelling support too. So if there are really awesome projects going on, giving your ability to brag about yourself as well. And then we facilitate a lot of peer-to-peer learning. So there's a lot of examples that we hear from across the state where they're looking for a specific thing, but they want an example from Ohio, which makes it easier to get these projects done as opposed to pulling in examples from coastal states. So we have some case studies to walk through, just some general things of how other communities that are PCFO members have utilized our technical services, just to give you an idea of the range. So an example on the screen is Solon. They have a green team. It is a resident-led advisory group that collaborates directly with the city of Solon's on sustainability issues. In 2025, the Green Team launched a community survey. Power Clean Future Ohio helped them create that survey. We also helped provide framework for the city for what this Green Team would look like and how it could collaborate or work with committees on council and the city administration in general. And then this past summer, we did a nice video for the city of Solon and the mayor and the Green Team folks as well to be able to talk about the work. Solon's Green Team example is a really good example that I have found in terms of examples that we share with other cities if they're interested in setting up some sort of environmental advisory board or committee of some sort. Fairborn, Ohio, another example, Fairborn down near Dayton. The city of Fairborn invited PCFO to their yearly council member retreat with department heads and also the city manager to do an energy efficiency workshop. So they were really interested in saving money for their municipal facilities. And so there was a lot of facilitated work that we did with the city to make sure that folks were talking about energy efficiency in the same way. We had really good conversations with them in terms of what mechanisms to implement. I think folks always think that, go solar, which I think that there are a million other ways to reduce your energy usage before you would get to that point. And so we help communities think about those things from a cost-effective strategy. Lima, Ohio, which is probably one of my favorite examples to talk about. Lima became a PCFO community in 2021, so they were one of our very early cities to join. And the previous mayor, Mayor Berger, was really interested in if a floating solar array would work in Ohio and if it would work on their water treatment plant. They have 2 reservoirs pictured on the screen. And so PCFO took that idea. We did a memo for the city as well of here's kind of what floating solar is, here's what the feasibility could be. And then we worked with the city of Lima to do letters of support. Former Senator Brown was able to do some appropriations for this project as well. Then we helped the city with an RFP. We helped do interviews with the developer. They chose D3 Energy out of Florida. And the array with tax credits and all of that, they were able to implement, and we went to the Flip the Switch event last week, which was really awesome, being with the city and helping them through this project from start to finish. And so PCFO really is just added capacity for these sorts of energy reduction measures, climate measures, sustainability work that a lot of communities don't have a sustainability department. They don't have anybody working on that all of the time. Ugh, antivirus protection, not now. Okay. That's a problem for later. Another example, Granville, the city of Granville, just east of Columbus, had a big initiative to update some ordinances that they had to reflect community input and general sustainability practices. So we worked them to develop a model ordinance for residential solar, and then we also have participated on the village's Green Team working group. So our team is also available to join these ad hoc committees just to add additional expertise and technical assistance. We continue to work with the city of Granville. Granville is interested in doing a climate action plan in 2028, and so some of their staff members have been joining us on this educational journey to learn more about what that is and if that is something that the village would want to do in the future. Some other examples, the city of Kettering as well. We do a lot of peer-to-peer connection and advise their sustainability manager, which is a brand new position for this city. So we helped them do best practices on curbside recycling for their multifamily homes that they have. City of Lakewood, like I mentioned, we've worked with them to file an intervention in a first energy rate case, and we do a lot of just PUCO general consultation with the City of Lakewood. And then last example on here is the City of Bexley. So they have a first ever community-wide sustainability action plan, and our team created the greenhouse gas inventory for them. We helped do scenario plan as well. So if they had a goal as a community to reduce emissions, and so our scenario planner, if you implement X initiative, here's how much your emissions would reduce in that sector. So we have the ability to do that as well. And just general regular consultation with the City of Bexley, doing some really awesome work in the Columbus area. So how do you join PCFO? Completely free for local governments to join. There are no fees, nothing like that. Local government passes a resolution to formally join Power Clean Future Ohio. We establish a point of contact, and then from there we do an intake meeting and just establish a relationship. Some communities know like right away something that they want to work on, or they join because they're working on a specific initiative. Other communities join, and then it's more of just a relationship building process of learning more about the goals, helping to facilitate those sorts of things, and then helping to identify ways to achieve those goals with the community. This is our roadmap. It's also in the presentation that y'all will have access to as well if you are more interested in what our membership looks like. Meet with PCFO, you develop the resolution and join, build your team so you designate who would be the point of contact, and then from there, strategic planning meetings, we help identify priorities, things of that nature. And then we set you up with our email list where we also communicate regularly with communities around open grant opportunities, other technical assistance from regional and statewide partners that we are connected to. And then from there, we just help you be successful depending on how you define success. And I believe that is all for me. Contact information is on the screen. I am local as well, so if anybody has questions now, happy to answer questions, and happy to meet with anybody anytime. It's really easy for me to get over here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I guess first I'll go to the committee if anyone has questions. Yeah.
Yeah, how are you funded?
We are funded through philanthropy. So we have a mixture of grants from in-state folks and then also Midwestern philanthropic organizations as well. We have in the past been on contract with some cities who end up hiring PCFO to do a very specific technical piece of work, but that is pretty rare. But when those opportunities come up, we often end up working on these projects with communities because we've done all of like the planning work beforehand. But yeah, philanthropy is how we are funded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Schmier.
Yes, I mean, it sounds wonderful. I guess the question I've got is, are there any legislation-driven commitments that you have as a city once you join?
No, there is not. In the template resolution language that we share, because we'll share a template resolution afterwards, there is a space for folks to commit to a carbon reduction goal, whether that is 30% by 2040 or net zero by 2050. There's a space for that, completely up to the community if they choose to put that in there or not. Yeah.
I guess what I would say is free is great and no commitment is even better.
Yeah.
I guess when it comes to, I noticed that you guys do brownfield consultation. What have you guys done when it comes to brownfield in the past?
Yeah, so most recently we had, I believe it was the city of Warren, had some desire and need to unlock, I think it was a remediation dollars for a specific brownfield parcel that they had in mind. And so they didn't have the capacity to email back and forth with Department of Development, Ohio EPA, things of that nature. So we really just helped the city get in contact. We reviewed their proposal as well. So more so of the facilitation and the connection, and our team was able to do that. And I think too, in terms of remediation and other partners that we have in the state, that is one of the things that I think is a strength of Power Clean Future Ohio is our partnerships with cities across the state and then our statewide partners as well. Just in terms of being able to access folks if we don't know the answer, I think we have a really good suite of technical folks that could find the answer. And then we can do that groundwork as opposed to you having to take the time to do that.
So I've got one more final question.
Yeah.
So when it comes to your capabilities, when it comes to staffing,
Yeah.
what sort of a cross-section of folks do you guys have?
Yeah, so we are a full-time team of 7, and our 7 that we have, we all have a range of backgrounds. So I previously have higher ed nonprofit experience. Our executive director has experience on Capitol Hill. We have a former legal aid person, private consultant as well. But where the rubber really hits the road is our team of technical consultants that work on the data collection. And these are folks who are senior energy planners, previous directors of offices of sustainability. So the one of the former directors for San Francisco's Office of Sustainability is on our technical team, and the former director of sustainability for the city of Evanston, who now lives down in Yellow Springs. So we've got a really good bench of folks that have municipal experience, and then also have like energy planning, federal grant, state grant, legislative experience. So it's a really cool collection in terms of folks' resumes. Yeah, of course.
Anyone else from Ms. Gentry?
So we were participating in the NOPEC STAR program. Mayor, are you, can you do a comparison between what we're doing with them versus what this program offers?
Sure, I'll give it a shot. I mean, there's some overlap. We
Yeah.
work with DEPA from NOPEC.
Yeah, we work with
DEPA
NOPEC often, yeah.
So there's a little bit of an overlap. We haven't gotten too far down the road with them as far as the sustainability aspect and, EV and all that kind of stuff, but there's a little bit of an overlap for sure.
Yeah, and so we work really closely with NOPEC and SOPEC as well, and so I regularly have check-ins with DEPA around like the Charging Smart cohort and Soul Smart pieces, because we don't want to be duplicative. So on the back end, the partners that have sort of the same style of technical assistance, we do a lot of collaboration on that, which is really beneficial, because we're like, we gotta make sure that we can access folks across the state and we don't have to duplicate efforts. So yeah, NOPEC's a great partner of ours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Vanderbosch?
Thank you. I'm not on the committee, I'm just the council member here.
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions for
Sure.
you. On the slide where you have energy efficiency, do you do streetlight inventories?
Haha, streetlights. Streetlights are a toughie. We have worked with the city of Warren on streetlights, and then Springfield as well has some really interesting questions around streetlights. We don't do the inventory itself, but we have worked on a couple of different pathways that communities have thought about what it would look like to take over their streetlights in terms of either like buying them from the utility. There's also a couple of third-party vendors that are operating in that space. And so when we did that work with the city of Warren, I think they were working with a specific vendor, and so we were involved in a lot of the conversations, because it was really being led by a council member in the city of Warren. So we have some experience on streetlights, but this has been a question that has come up time and time again with our communities. And so we're actually in the process of creating a streetlight toolkit to really etch out what all of those different pathways are for communities, because it's a really big line item. But yeah, so some experience, but not on the inventory
And then also
space.
the lamping,
Mm-hmm.
and the tariffs, because there's different tariffs for
Yes.
intersection lights and,
Yep.
okay. Then I'd like to go down to, if I could, the land use.
Yeah.
So the tree canopy assessment, we're having a tree inventory right now.
Cool.
To help with the management of the urban forest.
Mhm.
So I imagine that there would be some overlap there that you would be involved in.
Yeah.
And as far as zoning code revisions, our zoning code already takes into effect solar and also wind power. So my question is, because the state of Ohio has gone through different types of administrations, renewable energy and credits has been available, not available, available, not available. Where are we right now with credits? Because
Yeah.
you mentioned them.
Yeah. So for Inflation Reduction Act era tax credits, for folks who are doing renewable energy projects specifically, there's a bit of like safe harboring going on to be able to get full advantage of the tax credit. For folks who were planning on using safe harbor for the tax credit, ITC, the projects would have to be implemented by, I think it's December 31st, 2027. So we have seen a reduction in timeline for taking advantage of the tax credits for renewable energy. However, the direct pay, elective pay component of the Inflation Reduction Act is still available, which that allows for municipal governments, non-tax paying entities to take advantage of the tax credit. So there is still like direct pay is still in existence, but also geothermal as another form of carbon-free sources of energies. The geothermal tax credit has not been touched. So we have some communities as well who are looking at geothermal for their city hall because that tax credit remains as it was written in the Inflation Reduction Act through 2032. So we do member quarterly calls, and on those member quarterly calls, we do state policy updates and federal policy updates, and anybody who wants to be a part of that from PCFO's membership is able to join those calls. And those webinars are then posted on our website later on as well. So yeah, we've got a lot of resources. I think one of my favorite organizations to go to stay updated on all of the changing tax credits is Lawyers for Good Government, L4GG, which really awesome organization, pro bono lawyers helping with like tax policy, things of that nature. So really good suite of information through Lawyers for Good Government. They've got really timely resources as well, which I appreciate.
Thank you. Mrs. Goodwin, thank you very much for bringing her in here and for the project. Even though that there's some overlap, I believe that there are some areas we can carve out that we can have further discussions. Thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I felt the same. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything? I didn't want to.
No, I had a couple questions on the funding and how big your team was, and those have been answered, and the NOPEC question. So, yeah, quite a menu of options here, so I appreciate that. Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so if there's any further discussion, we can motion to join. They'll have the resolution. So
I'll move. That we do the resolution and join.
great.
Second.
Thank you. Do I have to take a vote?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. And then we'll have that ready for the next council meeting next Monday on the 31st. Thank you again, Alyssa. I really appreciate it. And don't feel the need to stick around if you don't. Then the next couple of things
Did you want to do that with 3 readings? How did you want to do that?
I think that's fine.
3 readings, okay.
Sure, yeah. Maybe too, that'll be good. We can start thinking about what direction we want to head to. So once we're officially a part of it, maybe we'll have a result at the end as well.
That makes sense.
Thank you. Okay. For unfinished business, we had the Deer Management Program. I just wanted to get Director Liskovic if there was anything to update about that. We had it was kind of left hanging our last meeting, so I just wasn't sure if there was any further update or if you had any information about survey or anything like that.
At this point, I really don't have anything additional. I did not have a chance recently to check the survey data from, I forgot, it's the ODNR survey that we're encouraging our residents to utilize. But as I think mentioned last time too, is we have the proposal from USDA in place, and I'd like to move that forward just so we can get planning with their schedule. And I know I had spoken with Mr. Baker a week or so ago, and we're going to be collabing and planning for some work and revisions and updates and stuff like that for the next season.
Okay.
Forward.
So for this season, there's really no action. We're just kind of moving forward, and we'll evaluate and see where we're at for next year.
Because there's some other things we're thinking about.
Because we're no longer locked into the decade block, right? Like we're out of that cycle.
That initial plan was for a 10-year span. So we're looking at
Okay.
reimagining that and what we learned from that and what's new on the horizon and all that other stuff, and pull that all together.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that moving forward? Okay, thank you. And then the last thing was unfinished business. We did complete the composting survey, and we had pretty good responses. And I just wanted to throw out that we are having discussions with Ford from our our representative from Environmental Advisory Board. They are looking into potentially, based on the results of the survey, looking at potentially some opportunities for a citywide composting program. We are just in the very early stages of seeing what that could look like in the future. But the survey certainly helped. The results to that, I believe, will be a little bit more, will be a little bit more combed over for our next meeting on September 1st in EAB. And I just wanted to kind of throw that information out there so everyone knew what we were working on, because it's kind of exciting. And we also currently have the Ted and his team looking at some sustainability grants that will help us show up, in connection with Ford for that citywide composting program. So it's not just us relying on them to provide the service, but for us to maybe find some opportunities to be there with them and see where this could take us in the long term. I know Mr. Liskovic has been speaking with some of the service providers as well, just to see, in the grand scheme of things, where this could take us. So it's exciting, and I just wanted to let everyone know that that's where that was headed. We are not asking residents to pay for composting. We just wanted to see what their interest was and where they were at, and if anyone wanted to join in. So that is all I have for that. Are there any questions, committee or other council members?
I have a comment. I did receive an email from Avon Lake City School Foundation that they're ready at the beginning of the year to have a conversation about that green environmental scholarship initiative. So that is something that's going to be happening in this month, September.
Okay, can you bring that to the September 1st EAB meeting, or however we
Yeah,
want to? Okay,
sure.
okay, all right,
Thanks.
thank you. Anything else?
Are you finished with your agenda?
I am.
Yes. I do have one more thing. So last month, in your minutes, you said that you're looking at including the homeowners associations in the city trash contract. And where are you with that? Is there anything that I can help you with coming from MMAC and their studies that they have done? Because basically what it is the more units, they call the homes units, the more units you have, then the lower your cost is going to be overall. That's why we joined the consortium, to have more units in our negotiations.
So, not yet. We have a pending meeting on the books to have our trash discussion. We just haven't had an opportunity to yet this summer. But as soon as that happens, I will absolutely bring you in. You're the
Thank you. I'd
wealth
be
of
happy to
knowledge
be
in
at that meeting to
so,
help.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Certainly, thanks. Does anyone have anything else? All right. So the next item is public input. Members of the audience shall be permitted to speak only once up to 3 minutes on any agenda topic. Are there any comments or questions from the public? All right. And that, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin. Next, we return to the collective committee meeting. First is environmental committee. Again, we'll at this collective committee meeting, the Power of Clean Future Ohio. That's going to be on the agenda. It's going to be read 3 times. Is there any further questions or comments on that at all from council? All right, move on to Finance Committee meeting. Under the Finance Committee meeting, we have the discussion of the Brownfield Grant Program for fiscal year 2027. This came through Environmental Committee as well, with the city's ability to apply for or through or with ALERG for a Brownfield grant through the state for the power plant. I'm going to turn this to Mrs. Goodwin at this point. You have any comments you wanted to share with regard to this item?
Sure. So just a brief history over the last couple weeks. What happened was it did not come through the Environmental Committee, but it came through the ad hoc, the power plant, Lakefront Futuring Investment Committee. But we, Mr. Osborne brought it to our committee for review, and we had a good discussion just on how we felt it was most appropriate to move forward. We felt sending it to finance was the next appropriate step just because it was a grant and accepting of funding. Should we make it that far? And basically the discussion in the meeting was that we're not adverse to ALERG being the lead on this at all. I think we were open-minded to it. The only difference is that we wanted to make sure that we were involved in the process, that we weren't just taking a back seat to the grant program. And we also were very complimentary to the city of Lorraine, who's received a lot of money out of this program. They're very successful. And so we, Ted had reached out to Kate Golden from the city of Lorraine to see what the success of their, what they kind of weighed some pros and cons and just different aspects of thinking around if Avon Lake taking the lead or ALERG taking the lead or whatever. And their best advice was to mostly just be involved in the process. And I do know that there are some provisions in there where the city is the sub-recipient. Is that the right word?
Sub-recipient?
Sub-recipient.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or like we're part of that application process in that way. But the most important thing is that we are involved in the process with this in some capacity. I don't want to pretend like I know exactly what that looks like, but I think that collectively we can maybe come up with that path forward.
All right, well, we have Mr. Davis here, Ted Osborne's here. I think there's a couple folks on Zoom as well. Was there any particular questions that you wanted to ask before I go to them?
I will ask one thing because I think this is, I kind of already know the answer, but just for everyone else, given where things have landed with our grant writer and Verdantis both being part of the drafting team, hopefully, are you comfortable with that structure being written into the resolution or sub-recipient agreement? Or what would that look like moving forward?
Come on up, Mr. Davis.
Sure. Thank you. Good evening. Todd Davis, outside Brownfield Council to the city of Avon Lake. Nice to see everybody again. I'm comfortable. I think that there's been quite a bit of collaboration and a lot of very good discussion with Councilwoman Goodwin and her group and a variety of different people, both in the room, with Verdantis, with ALERG. I think we're all on the same page. We all want to come up with a grant application that hopefully will position us collectively for success. I think the grant application is currently structured. Some of the benefits of having them be the lead applicant would be, it actually takes the city out of the middle of the process, and therefore the city would not be directly responsible for achieving some of the things that the grant would require, and conversely wouldn't have any liability, which I think is very important to emphasize. So, and the liability would be that if for whatever reason things aren't performed in accordance with the ODOD requirements, you have to repay the grant. We don't want to incur that responsibility if we don't have to, at least from my perspective. As I think everyone else also knows, the interim development agreement requires the city to support the pursuit of grants like this and philanthropic grants as well to try to mitigate the costs. To the extent that there's any kind of TIF in the future, and I know that that's a ways away, the grant would lower the costs associated with the TIF. So I think there's a benefit to the city from that perspective as well.
All right, thank you. Mayor, did you have anything you wanted to add about this before we open it up to council?
No, I know that ALERG is present on Zoom. I think they had a short presentation that they wanted to provide to you as well before it went to discussion.
Is anything else you wanted to add before we have that, Mr. Davis?
The last point that I would emphasize is that because of the nature of the grant itself, it would be a site-wide grant. And so there would be remediation activities, not just on the proposed city park property, but on other areas of the site. I don't think the city should be in the middle of taking on any remedial activities associated with properties that we don't plan to acquire. So that's another reason. Other than that, I will turn it over to Mr. Shields.
Actually, I'll turn it over to Mr. Shields,
I'm
if
sorry.
that's okay.
I
Mr.
take that
Shields.
back. I will not turn it over. I will step away. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, I appreciate this opportunity to present the State of Ohio Brownfield Grant Program for FY27. This is our third grant that we're pursuing, and this is a $120 million program that's statewide that at its base will award up to $5 million, and with the directors interceding can add an additional $5 million with a specific justification and their discretion. As Mr. Davis said, this is a little different than past grant applications in that it is a cleanup remediation project only grant, and no assessment applications are going to be accepted. No match is required. However, the fact that ALERG has invested over $60 million on the project site in doing demolition and remediation is a major factor that leads to readiness for the site to take on this grant work. The scoring for this grant, and I appreciate you reaching out to the city of Lorraine because, typically the 3 C's get all the money. It's great to see them get something. I think it's our turn. The merit scoring is really the economic merit and the return on investment to the county, the region, and the state. And I think there's a great story here, not only in what it does economically, but in delivering this great asset to the community and state. One of the other major factors is readiness to begin quickly after award. And all the work that is being contemplated here, and I'll address that in a second, are things that we have worked with the city and Verdantis to identify in terms of the remedial action work necessary to prepare the site for recreation or redevelopment. As with all the prior grant applications, local support letters or ordinances and resolutions are required. The city previously did this on past grants. So one of the actions that we seek, and I understand that you'll take up in your next city council meeting, will be ordinance or letter of support. When they award this, they talk about, they're going to make a geographic distribution across Ohio, but with $120 million available, you can believe this will be very competitive. The submission requirements here are also a little different. The first one is showing proof of ownership and right of legal access. And as the applicant, ALERG, has the proof of ownership, we'll submit our deeds and our tax bills. We have a survey and plat map to show the property and current photographs. And of course, then what I just addressed, city letter of support ordinance or other council resolution, and other letters of support that have been obtained in the past that we're getting, again, that the city is coordinating and helping us with. And of course, then to provide local planning and zoning documentation, which will provide for, section 1216, 1218, 1219, and the rest of the code. From an environmental eligibility standpoint, you have to show that there's a clean hands affidavit. In other words, you didn't contribute to or cause the environmental conditions that are being remediated. And then current phase 1 and phase 2 ESAs. Now, these are extensive documents, so we need to summarize these in some regards because they're hundreds of pages long. But we'll submit that, our asbestos survey, and the regulatory maps that show where the VAP program is, where the other areas are, and what the constituents are on the site. And a really important and strong part of our application is our remediation readiness. That this represents work at the completion of this remedial action program and really projects this project into the future. So it'll show what the plan is, what the scope and cost estimates. It'll identify the cleanup standards and remediation program, both for the programs that are in the VAP and the city parks area and the balance of the property. It'll show the project timeline, milestones, and the services. And with Verdantis and Deegan Associates and ALERG, we're ready to go. We can start, tomorrow. And then what is required to get approval for that work. And then finally, to project what the budget and support for the budget is to do this work, which we have. Most of this is items that we've previously identified as work, part of park improvement and private improvement as part of the projected TIP budget. And then the economic benefit metrics for the redevelopment outcome. And we've previously shared that with the city, and we'll provide that again here. Lastly, we have to provide what the private investment is and any public leverage investment documentation. And then any additional economic impact and design match report. Now, this grant, like most of these grants, are submitted online with character limits, but it does allow you to attach documents, plans, and documentation of this, which we intend to do. So out of these submission requirements, what's really critical to meet our schedule is to get the city's support package and to have the coordination with Kelly LaRosa from the city and Verdantis in reviewing and contributing to the final grant document. The scope of the grant request is pretty well known to us because we have worked with Verdantis closely to identify what the remedial action requirements are to achieve the remedial action objectives, both for VAP standards and for the private development sites. That includes things such as processing and crushing concrete, mass grading on the site to, support the future land use and remedial objectives. Importing, placing clean imported soils to achieve the VAP standards, removing any contaminated soils if they are discovered during the grading work, conducting any VAP compliant confirmation sampling analysis and reporting, and preparing pad ready development parcels to concede with the phased development of the site. But clearly this work scope probably exceeds the grant request or funding available, but all of it really contributes to accelerating the readiness for the site to be redeveloped and reduces the budget for any tax increment financing needs that might be there, both for future park and private site costs. In this, the scope is really to leverage the $60 million investment we've made over the 43 acres and for, really to make improvements to position the 20 acres of the public park and the private development sites into rapid development. And I think this is a very strong proposal considering their evaluation criteria. Our schedule for this process, the portal opened up on August 11th. We immediately met to lay out the requirements. We began to coordinate with Verdantis and the city on this. We've drafted the city letter and resolution for consideration. I understand that'll be taken up next week. And then in the first week of September, as we start to upload all the grant input, we'll work with Kelly LaRosa and Verdantis to review the document. get city confirmation on the support package, upload that, and then finally, the week of the 8th and 10th, we'll have our final narrative. We'll red team that against the evaluation criteria, and we'll upload the document before the 5 o'clock deadline. So that's our process, and we appreciate, again, the opportunity to collaborate with Verdantis and the city in getting this, because I think this is important for all of us, and we look forward to having a positive result from this state. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Davis, if you'd come back up. What does the, on number 3 at the bottom in blue, it says the grant proceeds will directly reduce budget expenditures in areas benefiting future park and private site development. What exactly does that mean? Does that mean that the total amount will be credited to the city? What does that mean?
So that's to be worked out, but part of the grading that would otherwise need to be done by the city, at least the rough grading, also the placement of final cover. We need 2 feet of final cover over the park area in order to meet applicable standards in the future. Also, some of the concrete crushing and demolition that would be on the park property that would otherwise have to be paid for with TIP funding could be subsumed within that grant. So pretty material amount of funding that will go toward mitigating those costs for the city.
So if we got $5 million in grants, how much would our requirement for TIFs be reduced?
So we're putting together the budget numbers. I think by the next meeting, I'll be able to answer that question. I'm not right in the middle of the budget allocation numbers myself, but we can get the answer to that.
All right, I'll open this up for council. Mr. Kaz.
Yeah. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. President. Going back to the page 1, so the standard request up to $5 million, but then there's a reference of up to, maybe awarded up to $10 million. Maybe I missed it. Can you just tell me the difference between what the request would be? Would it be $5 million, or would we look for the $10 million?
So right now, it's the way the grant is written. The max is supposed to be $5 million per applicant. You can request more than $5 million. And that's awarded solely by the Department of Development Director's discretion. We've talked about that. We're still debating with ALERG with respect to what the exact amount of the grant request is going to be. And it's a political question too that we're trying to kind of figure out as well. You know, if we go above the $5 million grant, will that help us or hurt us?
Right.
So I think we're going to weigh both options, and we'll present those options to the council.
I got one more question, if that's okay, sir. The application due by September 11, 2026. Do we have an idea of when we would hear back whether or not we were awarded the grant, or do they have a decision on when those awards would be announced?
We have absolutely no idea. So just like when they announced the grants, you know, we were told kind of generically to expect them sometime during the summer. They kind of dropped this out of the blue without really giving anyone else notice, and that's the reason that we need to make a quick response. We got less than 30 days to apply. So if you weren't prepared, I know a bunch of people are scrambling across the state just to do phase 2 activities, which we've done, fortunately, and we've done the hard work necessary to support the grant application itself. So like Mr. Shields said, I think we're in a good spot to apply for it, but you know, just like some of the criteria are fairly nebulous, you know, what the grant also says and the rules say that the state is trying to select properties and projects from around the state without giving any insight with respect to specifically how that's going to be done. So this is something that we're going to have to work on from a lobbying perspective, which I think, you know, certainly ALERG is best positioned as a private party to do that kind of lobbying, but we'll support them to the best of our ability.
Yeah, and $5 million will go a long way, I think, to getting rid of a lot of that rubble there concrete rubble. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Yes, thank you. I have just a couple of them. I'm going to go back to the slide, number 3, scope of grant request, number 6, and I'd like you to go slowly through number 6. It says, preparing pad-ready development parcels coinciding with a phased development site that includes restricted, controlled residential, recreational, and commercial land uses meeting applicable numeric VAP standards and or property-specific risk standards. And the reason I'm asking the question is that there's various levels of zoning there, so there's various levels of use that could be there, which means that there's various levels of remediation that could be there. So could you guide us through through the project so that we have an idea of what the levels of remediation our goal will be to achieve?
Sure. So with respect to the park property, we've had extensive discussion through technical assistance with respect to what the standard needs to be for the park property through discussions with EPA. That's going to be a commercial industrial standard with high-risk child exposure. That's something that EPA said would be acceptable, and that's what we're working toward. What is also part of this project and process is not only identifying the standard, but also including a remedial action plan that identifies through the phase 2 what we need to do to achieve that standard. With respect to the private parcels, that's something for ALERG to decide, what standard they want to achieve. Certainly, from my perspective, you're likely to meet a restricted residential standard on those parcels. So they've agreed through the IDA to meet VAP standards throughout the entire property, and I think our application will be consistent with that approach.
Thank you. If I could continue?
Yes.
Thank you very much. My next question has to do with prioritization, because in reading through the grant process, they are prioritizing the investment area projects based on how not just a community will benefit from this, but the region and like Northeast Ohio, not just Lorain County, and also the state. So in applying here, they're going to have to prove that, but what we're doing here, using private equity funds along with the grant, that it could be replicated throughout the state. Having worked with grants in the past, that is a key. I just wanted to bring that up. There's another part that's very interesting. And in the grant where it says matching funds, because this is a non-matching funds grant, you can actually gain additional points by listing the additional funds that you have already contributed. And here's what's really interesting. For the purposes of this program, future in-kind costs and assessment costs on the property can be considered as an eligible expense for a match. For fiscal year 2027, eligible expenses that were incurred on or after, this is what's important, July 1st, 2024 may be used as a match, which obviously there's been a tremendous amount of money put into this project at that point. I wish you all good luck. I think this is a wonderful opportunity, and that you're positioned in the right position to apply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Mr. Shamir?
I think I'll wait and go towards them if that's okay.
I just
Go ahead.
Thank you. Speaking of guidelines, the guidelines say that an entity that caused or contributed to the contamination can't be the applicant. Are we certain that, we're safe?
We're certain that we have clean hands, absolutely, and can meet that criteria.
Okay.
Just to explain that to you,
go ahead.
just
to
give you some more comfort about that. The people who historically operated the coal-fired power plant would be the, quote, polluter in this circumstance. ALERG is a redeveloper. They came in with their own bona fide prospective purchaser safe harbor under CERCLA, which they qualified for. All the work that they've done has been remediation work to fix someone else's issues or problems. So at least from my perspective, and with respect to all of the grants that I've ever applied for or worked with people under this program, they would meet the definition of someone with clean hands.
And then I just,
Go ahead.
do you have like personal success in this program? I'm sure you do, but I just want to.
Yes, so I've been involved for my own company and with other clients that I've worked with, bringing in probably close to $100 million of grant funding.
And then with the plans and things that you mentioned, because this is through the Department of Development, I mean, when we're talking plans, are we talking we're going to see like ideas?
I'm sorry, say that again. What's
when
your
you
question?
said that you'll be coming back with plans and budgets and all that other stuff,
That's
what's like
part of
what
the
is that?
application.
What does that look like? Like what does that mean we're going to see at that time?
So we'll answer any of the questions, and certainly Mr. Shields might have more specific information because his firm's taking the lead and taking the first shot with Verdontis at preparing the grant application itself. But you need to identify how you're going to spend the money, on what it's going to be spent, with line items and a budget and what's called a PACE, which basically lays out the finances, and it's got to be tied to a plan. So we'll certainly share that with the city. And if Mr. Shields can confirm that to you.
Yeah, the grant specifically asks for a remedial action plan for the grant and a budget. And, this remedial action plan has line items that directly tie to the assessment work that's been performed by ALERG and the city's environmental professionals. And the remedial actions involve moving dirt, responding to areas that have been assessed and have to be remediated either by removal or by placing clean fill and engineered controls over them. And we have engineered analysis and estimates and surveys and LiDAR information showing the quantities and pricing for doing that work. And much of the work that's involved is really how the earth is prepared, how the earth is cut and filled, and what the condition of that earth is. And so we have all that engineering information, those estimates, and that budget as part of the submission that supports the remedial action plan that is submitted, that is the centerpiece of this grant. And that remedial action plan is in response to phase 1 and phase 2 assessments and the VAP work done by Verdontis.
I'm sorry, it's the last point. Can you explain what your role and Verdantis's role will be in this process as our representation?
Sure. So we have been, since the announcement of this grant, we have been collaborating with ALERG, both Verdontis and myself. I've been in several discussions already with respect to what the plans are. We've shared information with respect to what we'd like to see in terms of achieving progress in the context of this. So it's really been a collaboration, just like we've collaborated on the previous grant applications, candidly. So we intend to do the same thing here and hopefully be successful.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Shamir, I see no other hands up.
I guess I've got a number of questions. If I may, I'm going to go back and forth. So there was a mention that the state places significant weight on shovel readiness. So that, I assume, includes zoning permits, financing, development milestones, and signed contracts.
The way I read it, it's shovel readiness to perform the grant work, not the vertical development, if that's your question.
So is there an economic component that is looked at when the state is going to approve the grant?
So that is part of what Mr. Shields mentioned with respect to the ultimate goal of the project. But again, there is no specific development requirement or mandate like some other programs that the state has with respect to having to produce a factory or whatever else the grant funds do. This is work that is identified to mitigate the environmental issues and to prepare a site for future development. That's the purpose of the grant.
So there is no requirement on what that property will be used for in this phase?
You need to, in good faith, present what your anticipated goals are for the project.
Okay.
That's what
So-
you're going to share, just like ALERC has already shared with the city.
So there is going to be economics and economic models that are going to be presented as a part of this program, I would assume. I mean,
Dick, yes.
so can we receive that package so that we can review it? And as a part of that, I mean, I see the documentation here, but I don't see a resolution anywhere. So we've got something that we're reading and trying to approve, but I see no resolution or no documentation on what exactly it is as a city that we're going to commit ourselves to.
So a resolution was shared today or over the weekend. I don't know where that currently stands. There's a draft resolution, but the city is, so it was sent to the city. I assume that it went to,
We're going through the legal part of it.
okay, so
Well,
so
I
the
mean-
law director is going through the resolution. But again, in terms of what the city has historically supported similar grants. The city is not committing or is not responsible for performance of any of these activities, which is why at least my advice was to not be the lead entity if there was another party that was willing to be the lead entity.
I don't disagree with you, but understanding what it is and what this resolution looks like, I mean, we're being asked to do this thing, and force majeure. We've got a drop dead date of September 11th, and yet the resolution is not a part of this documentation that at least I've received. When I look at it, I don't understand what the framework is. So, I mean, I'm talking about the verbiage.
Yeah, understood. If the resolution has not yet made it to the city council, which is basically what you're telling me, then we'll expedite that review and get it to you ASAP.
Okay. Now, there was a discussion or a question by Council President with respect to allocation of funds, when this is awarded and the overall cost potential reduction. Now, if this fund is going to be X number, I would think that that X number would drop off the TIF at the total amount, not at a partial amount. I mean, it's budget irrelevant if you ask me, because you're going after a X number, say $5 million. If that $5 million comes in, that reduces the TIF amount by $5 million. Is that correct or incorrect?
That would be my hope.
Say that again?
That would certainly be my hope, that this does work that otherwise would have to be financed by that TIF.
Well, I'd like clarity. Hope is very, very vague and disappears.
As it relates to the work that's on the city's park area, if the city doesn't have to spend it to do this work, I don't have any input into whether the city decides to spend money on that site on another use. But as it relates right now, I see this as a reduction of those items that we've identified in our draft TIF budget on a dollar-for-dollar basis.
Okay. And the reason I'm asking this, because if there's $30 million remaining for remediation and for other sources of activity to include infrastructure, that still is $30 million. It doesn't extend beyond $30 million, whether it's on the city site or outside of the city site, because that $30 million applies across the total area. Am I not correct?
Correct. And our hope is that this grant, as we have included in the PSA and pursued over the last 3 grant applications, is a way to reduce the total cost of this redevelopment, to improve its economic feasibility, and to reduce any reliance on TIF or other financing.
So that's why when the discussion on the budget and the comment on the budget was made, I'm wondering what exactly are we talking about, because the TIF sum is the TIF sum. So if we can get that cleared, especially in the resolution, I would greatly appreciate it. And then what is the breakdown of or anticipated split of fund usage between the city park area and the area outside? Is that something that can be shared?
That's a more difficult, because, for example, the two significant costs here are typically grading, and we would be grading land from the private parcels to move it to the public parcels to do fill. So the expenses on both parcels, but it's benefiting both. For example, the ponds are on the public parcel, but the dirt to come from that is coming from the private parcel, and all the dollars being spent are to move that dirt from one to the other. So the good news is we've identified those costs in our draft TIF budget. We have them identified here in the scope grant. They're pretty easy to track to. And the good news is we've been able to, while we've gone through this process, to get a lot of fill on the site to reduce the budget anyway. So it's a great question. It's just not drawn by lines. For example, with concrete crushing, there's concrete on both the city parcels and the private parcels, but there'll be one operation doing that and stockpiling it for both benefits of the crushed concrete.
I would also go back to, I'm sorry, Mr. Shields, are you done? I didn't mean to.
I am.
So I just wanted to remind City Council of the deal structure that we also have in the purchase and sale agreement. It's ALERG's responsibility to deliver us a property with a no further action letter. Mm-hmm. So they have to remediate the property to applicable standards as part of this process, and or, with respect to the clean cover, have as part of the TIF arrangement demonstrated ability to secure and to perform that final grading with available TIF budget. So that has to be a line item. Anything that we can do to mitigate those costs, I think, to your point, comes off the top with respect to that budget. That's how I look at it.
So fundamentally, ALERG would be responsible for all remediation
Yes.
and construction activities.
Yes.
And a final handover of that park property to the city with a no further action letter attached.
Before we close, as part of the purchase agreement, there has to be an NFA. Yes.
Okay, one more and I'll leave it. So, actually, I would like to see the economics and what is identified in September 8th to 10th, that final grant narrative, if that can be sent to us, at least conceptually, what it looks like, so that we can start.
Glad to. And the information I'm using is already available in what I previously provided to you. I haven't changed that any, but I'll send it again.
Perfect, thank you. And if we can get that resolution so that we have a clear understanding of what it is and what we're supporting.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything, Mrs. Goodwin?
I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
Just this spurred up a couple more questions. This is a program that we can, if it opens repeatedly, we can repeatedly apply. Is that correct?
Well, so they don't let, the state's not going to award multiple. their policy has been not to award multiple grants on the same project. That's part of the rule package as well.
Okay, so long-term, then, say PSA closes, we're moving forward with this in a perfect world. Can the city of Avon Lake be a lead applicant for another grant fund? Not necessarily this program, but I'm saying, should we be taking some initiative here also with, some other local entities? And should we be maybe looking for these other grant opportunities to worry more about the parkland for ourselves? Like, explain to me how we continue to reduce the TIF funding to protect ourselves, because this is for 40 some acres, but we need to be worried about 23.
Sure. So it doesn't preclude us from applying for other programs, like there are Great Lakes Grant Initiative programs that can be used to apply for other park improvements and other shoreline improvements. Being awarded funding under this program, I think would only help our application for that. So if you're talking about stacking other programs on top of it, that's something that is part of our mission and goal to do, and this does nothing but help our readiness to apply for those other programs.
And just for process, is that something that we would be going through? Is this how would we be going through you to do that? Like, what does that look like?
Yes, Mayor.
In fact, I think we have Ted, correct me if I'm not wrong, Wednesday we have a meeting with the Great Lakes Initiative. So we're already doing that process.
So one other thing that I'll point out is tomorrow morning, because I know that this is another issue that's near and dear to everyone's heart, we applied separately through the TAB program we've talked about funding and doing sampling in the lake and the shoreline. That application went in for a grant. It's a small grant, nonetheless an important grant. We have a call at 9 a.m. tomorrow that has been, there's been a project manager assigned, so we're discussing that process as well. So we haven't forgotten about that. We've emphasized how important that is, and so to your point, we're going to go after as many programs as we can potentially bring in to help construct our vision.
Thank you. Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the history of this particular program, the monies came from the feds, and it's a year ago, and it's already, they gave out, they granted out X number of dollars, and now this is the second time, and their goal is to reduce this one, so this will be a closed. Then if other monies should come in, they will have more. Isn't that what this is all about with the Brownfield grant?
Yeah, this is the last
Second half.
remaining big chunk of money that was currently designated for brownfield redevelopment. Fortunately, they've had robust programs, but sometimes, it goes years without having funds available. So I think missing this opportunity would be a tremendous detriment to the city.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Shamir?
Just as a follow-up to the comment that was made. So this program, once it's awarded, it precludes us from getting any other awards with respect to the power plant brownfield? I'm sorry.
Please ask
specifically this program that we're applying for.
So the way their program rules with respect to this are very, to me, nebulous. What they said is that they don't plan to give multiple awards to the same project. That's what their current policy is. Historically, I worked through a 1,000-acre site where I got multiple awards on different phases, different portions of the property. So again, a 1,000-acre brownfield site, the first phase, I did a 100-acre property and I got awarded, then the max was $3 million. 2 years later, after that first project was done, I moved on to an extra 50-acre parcel and was awarded another $3 million. So there's precedent for doing multiple awards. I'm just reading the 2027 policy statement.
So the reason I asked the question is with respect to Powdermaker Creek, because that is not part of this program at all. In the future, remediation of Powdermaker Creek, I mean, is going to be costly. Is that going to then fall within this framework, or can it be carved out since it is not a part of this program at all?
So I believe that we would be applying for different funding sources with, for instance, Metro Parks or through Great Lakes. But I mean, we're going to have to do something that's very specific to Powdermaker Creek if we're going to daylight the creek and do the things. And, you know, I know you've pointed out a number of significant questions with respect to Powdermaker Creek. Phase 2 analysis that Verdantis has been doing, you know, is necessary to get the NFA for our property, but it does not, to your point, daylight Powdermaker Creek, and that's not anticipated as part of this grant program. So we would have to apply for other, and candidly, I think it's going to be a more robust application that's specific to the activities associated with that.
And also, one of the criteria here was for shovel-ready and ready to be completed within a short period of time. And Powdermaker Creek has engineering and permitting and a much more complex aspect to it that, you know, we can start work on this next month. Powdermaker Creek is going to take some time to design, get regulatory approval, and to do, and we didn't think their evaluation criteria would look as positively on that. So.
We have 1 year from the date of award to perform all work on this application. So it seems like a lot of time, but we all know it's not.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Mayor, I know that we were talking about not having a finance committee meeting until later in September, because there were some items that you wanted to bring to finance. Would those items be ready for next Monday to discuss, and we could have those items on and have a finance committee meeting at like 6 o'clock so that we could look over the resolution in the meantime and maybe have a little further discussion on this matter before the council meeting next Monday?
I can check with Beth Crossy on that. We're looking at a budget adjustment is one of the items we're looking at. We have that preliminarily done. We might be able to, but I'll find out and get that back to you.
All right, well, if we could get that done, I think it might be makes sense to have us come at 6 o'clock. Is everybody able to come 6 o'clock next Monday? And that way we can have a little more discussion on this if necessary.
That's good.
Once we receive the resolution. All right, well, we'll plan on doing that then. All right, next is the fund transfers. You have received in the packet the 2 fund transfers that we talked about, I believe, at the Finance Committee meeting back in August. Any questions on that at all? Otherwise, that'll appear on our agenda for Monday. And there's also a financial report attached. Any highlights, Mayor, in the financial report that you wanted to bring for council or point out?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Nothing jumps out that we haven't discussed prior. I think we're in pretty good shape as far as that goes.
All right, thank you. Any questions on the fund transfers? The next item, we did also receive the tax collections through August. And we're still down 3.75% on tax collections for the year, but we're slowly gaining back from the 6% we were down in July. Any questions or comments on that? All right, that ends the Finance Committee portion of the CCM. We're on to Mr. Koss and the Public Safety and Health Committee.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Council President. Got 3 items, or 2 items I'd like to discuss, and a third item at the end, if that's okay. The first item that I have is a new liquor license permit for Elysium Cafe at 32457 Lake Road. Longtime residents will remember that as the old Avon Lake Wine Shop. It's been Elysium Cafe now, I believe, for a couple of years. And this is a new liquor license permit for D2 and D1, and I believe that's for beer and wine consumed on the premises. This has been forwarded to the police chief, and Chief Robinson has no concerns with this. So I will ask for a motion on this at next Monday's meeting for passage.
Very good. Any questions? Not seeing any. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. The second item that I have is the purchase of police vehicles. Just before the meeting, Council Clerk Valerie Rossmarin put forth the document with the information on the purchase of the 3 police vehicles. This was a budgeted item, so we've already talked about this back in the budget process and approved it as part of the overall budget. The purchase would be from Statewide Ford in Van Wert, Ohio, and the total amount would be $131,442. Talking with the chief, he did not see a real rush on this, that we couldn't go 3 full readings on this. However, I'm going to go back with him and ask him about the emergency clause as well, too. I want to make sure that this quote will hold long enough for that, so I'll come back on that portion of it. But he didn't seem to have any worries about going 3 full readings on this. So if we could have a first reading on this next week, Mrs. Rossmarin, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you. Any questions?
And I got
And you
just
had
one
a
other
third
thing.
item you wanted
Yeah, I
to
just
bring
wanted to
up?
mention, I see Alex is here in the audience, and I owe him an email. And over the summer break, I had the opportunity to sit down with Chief Robinson and review the flock camera system here in Avon Lake. I recognize that not every city has the same exact setup with their flock system, but I wanted to see what we have here in Avon Lake, and I'll sit down and I'll talk with Alex more specifically about that. But I want to let the public know that I did have that meeting with the chief. I forwarded a summary of that meeting to all members of council, and I would encourage my colleagues to also have that type of meeting. Sit down with Chief Robinson, ask questions, we sat and talked for over an hour, close to an hour, and I peppered him with a bunch of questions on this. And just a couple of parts on this that I do want to bring up about that meeting. I was pleased to hear that the police department will only get a hit, which is a notification on a license plate, when that license plate comes back to a stolen vehicle, an active warrant, a fictitious plate, missing person, or sex offender. So they're not getting hits on every single car going through. As it's reading every single car, you're not getting a hit notifying the police department of that. The actual picture of what it looks like, I mean, we can see where these are located in the city and the angle that they're at. It's literally a picture of a back of your vehicle with your license plate in the back of your vehicle on a city street. It's not looking in windows of schools or swimming pools or anything like that, not here in Avon Lake. These cameras that are located at our entrances, all the entrances, exits of the city are pointed at license plates going through. I've asked Chief Robinson to also begin keeping statistics on the successes of this. I've noticed since this has been talked about more statewide and nationally, we've heard more success stories. And I think that we need to balance the argument that there is a lot of good occurring with these as well. So I encourage the chief to start keeping some statistics on this. He was able to name a number of them right off the top of his head that this was an assistance with. And I said, well, keep it going, keep putting these things down, because these are things that I think the public really would want to be informed about. Additionally, I was pleased to know that Avon Lake Police Department does not permit any outside agencies from accessing the flock cameras for any immigration purposes. So I know that was a big concern, specifically in the city of Cleveland, that they were being accessed by federal agencies for immigration purposes. We do have a way that we can limit or reject outside agencies from accessing them. So they do that for that particular. Also, I was able to review the audit system as well too, and how they do their audits. Asked a bunch of questions about that, their retention policy, and also their in-office policy as well too. I offered a suggestion that they add language similar to the restrictions and policy on leads, because that is another tool that the Avon Lake or that police departments use that if used improperly could lead to all kinds of consequences that nobody wants to think about. So leads has been used by police departments for a very long time, and they have very strict usage policies. I encouraged him to adopt much of that language, if it's not already in their policy, into it as well too. This is a start of this conversation on this, and I asked the chief, to schedule this for a future discussion at a Public Safety and Health Committee meeting so residents can ask questions as well too. I think it's important. I was pleased with what I saw. I know that there are people in the community that do not like the program, but I think it would be a good opportunity for residents to come in and ask questions regardless of their feelings on this, and the chief would put on a little presentation as well too. So hopefully we can do that maybe at the September meeting. If not, then for sure by the October meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cos, any questions for the Safety Committee Chair? Yes,
So,
Ms. Gentry.
the cameras that you referenced are the license plate readers, but we also have at least one camera at Walker and 83. Or where's the other one?
We have Walker in 83, and then we have Lear and Walker.
Okay, all right. So I'm assuming similar rules apply, but I'm sure that question's coming
The
up.
pictures and the angles are different. The pictures and the angles are different. Yes,
Understood,
yeah.
but the access to the data would be under the same rules.
I don't see any reason why not. I don't know if the mayor wants to answer that, or if we can just kick that to Chief Robinson to answer.
I think we'll kick it to the chief, but those cameras are not capturing license plate data. Those are just general video of the intersection. For example, if you had an accident and you don't know who might have been at fault, we have camera footage to differentiate that and determine that.
Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cos, for sharing with us that the Chief Robinson was going to be open to us going in. I did. I went in, I sat down, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting was a process that each of the hits have case numbers so that when our own officers would be searching for that license plate and tracking it, you get a call, a car is headed this way, there's a bank robbery, whatever, it's coming, they believe it's going to come through our community. And you want to know how many times they're going to be opening that particular file up. There is a threshold that has internal investigation, we'll call it, where they have to say, Officer Fenderbosh, for example, I'm making it up, and looked into it 13 times within the last 3 hours. Why was that? And you have to be able to verify why it was. And I thought that the controls that they had in place were really amazing. I am going to offer something, though, to the law director and to Mr. Mayor and to the police chief. One of the residents in my area contacted me, who's a lawyer, and he specializes in intellectual proprietary information, and he works for one of these companies that utilizes the information, and he will not charge the city. He'd like to sit down and go through the process of how we can protect the city and the contract, and I would like to facilitate that meeting with you and with him. David, I'd like you to be there also, since this is your committee. There's very few of these types of lawyers around, and he's offering to do what he does for a living for free for us. Thank you. Which I think is going to help to satisfy some of the information that you've brought to us, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Shamir.
Just a question. So what I heard was that the information is retained for a certain period with FLOC. Is that certain period on a Flock server, on a local server? And if, I mean, I'll continue with the rest of the question. And then, how is that information managed if it's retained by a central repository over beyond what our requirements are?
Good question on the second part. I'll have to get back with you on that, but the internal here in the city is 30 days. And Mr. Mayor, if I'm incorrect on that, please correct me, but I believe it's 30
Yeah,
days.
it's 30 days unless a case is established from it and they get the information, then it goes into the case file. It could be retained as long as that case is available.
And if I could, with the new contract, when this one's done, it will only be 7 days. And that's per flock.
Anything else for Mr. Kaz and the Safety and Health Committee? All right, seeing nothing, we're on to public service. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you. I have a really fun project. It came and fell in our laps while we were on recess, and there's a very quick turnaround. And this is another grant, and we don't have to do anything except for fill out paperwork. There isn't any kind of a match. And what it is that First Energy's green team is working with Keep Lorain County Beautiful, which I'm on the board for, the advisory board, and the Lorain County Solid Waste Management District. They're offering up to 18 tree seedlings for every municipality in the county of Lorain. And all you have to do is apply, number one. Mr. Liskovic has a number of species that he can select from, including natives. You have to show where it is that you're going to be using them. They have to only be on municipal property. And in the case of what we're looking at, we're going to be planting trees in a location to try to stop the prevailing winds from coming in and also to help to control some of the stormwater. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Liskovic because there's a fourth part to this that I want to share real quick before I turn it over. The other part of this grant is that you have to list different organizations that you believe would come forward at the celebration and help you plant these trees to help educate people about the urban forest. And the following organizations have been identified. One is the EAB. We think they would be very interested in this. This is sustainability. The other one would be the Avon Lake Garden Club. We believe they would be very interested since they give yearly funds to improve and increase our urban forestry, and it's open to the entire public. So I'm going to transfer it over to Mr. Liskovic. You can talk a little bit about the species, what else we need to know about this wonderful grant.
Mr. Liskovic.
Sure, absolutely. So, and I think I also would like to highlight our tree commission is also going to be very active with the promotion and public involvement with this opportunity. As Councilwoman Fenderbosh mentioned, we get up to 18 seedlings, which range anywhere from about 18 inches to 24 inches in tall, or in height. So nothing crazy now, but plant it today for our future tomorrow. But with that, I have identified a location on the safety center property that is isolated from any potential development based on what I've heard as potential areas over there, and looking at with the selection that they're providing, looking at a combination of Kentucky coffee tree and yellowwood, all of which are less utilized natives that I have not seen a ton of out in the wild here. So just helping to diversify our canopy a little bit more.
And your voice down at this end is really soft. Could you repeat that again, the 3 species, please?
2 species right now. We're looking at yellowwood and Kentucky coffee tree.
Thank you. And I really have an oops here. As the council representative to the tree commission, I shared with them that I would read their support letter, if I may.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It says, regarding the recommendation to participate in Lorain County Beautification Initiative, dear members of Avon Lake City Council, the Avon Lake Tree Commission respectfully recommends that the City of Avon Lake, Ohio, participate in a county beautification initiative focused on tree planting and beautification of municipality-owned property. At the meeting on August 19th, the Avon Lake Tree Commission approved a motion recommending that the city participate in this initiative. The effort is being developed in partnership with representatives of the First Energy Green Team, the Lorain County Solid Waste Management District, and the Keep Lorain County Beautiful Advisory Board. These organizations are working together to create an opportunity for communities throughout Lorain County to enhance public spaces through tree planting. Participation would provide Avon Lake with an opportunity to improve the appearance and environmental quality of city-owned property while engaging residents and community organizations in a meaningful volunteer project. Trees can provide long-term benefits, including shade, improved aesthetics, wildlife habitat, and enhanced community spaces. Avon Lake Public Works has agreed to assist with the logistics associated with tree planting, which will help ensure that the project can be implemented efficiently and appropriately on municipal property. If approved, an event will be planned to bring together the Avon Lake Tree Commission, Avon Lake Garden Club, Avon Lake Public Works, the EAB, and residents of Avon Lake to participate in the planting and beautification effort. The Tree Commission believes this initiative represents an excellent opportunity for the city to collaborate with county partners and local community organizations while investing in the urban forest and environmental health of Avon Lake. It also provides residents with an opportunity to actively contribute to the improvement within their community. The Avon Lake Tree Commission respectfully then asks City Council to support participation in the County Beautification Initiative and authorize the appropriate city departments to coordinate with the project partners to identify suitable municipally owned property and plan the tree planting event. Thank you for your consideration, for your continued support of efforts that enhance the beauty, sustainability, and quality of life within the city of Avon Lake. And we have a very short turnaround. Mr. Liskovic, it is September the 4th, and then we have to have the tree planting prior to October the 8th.
Pickup is on the 8th. 5 days after your pickup is the tree
Okay,
planting.
very short turnaround. Okay, thank you.
Preferred.
Thank you. Is there going to be something on our agenda on Monday?
Yes, there will be, there needs to be a motion to authorize applying for this grant.
Okay. Any questions on that item? Anything further for the Public Service Committee?
No, and it will be suspension of the rule emergency passage because of the short notice. Thank you.
All right, next is Planning Commission. Council Representative, Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. President. At our August 4th Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission recommended in a vote that City Council approve CPC 26-2, which is also the Major Subdivision Improvement Plan for Matthews Hollow. I would like to, I guess we would have the first reading on Monday of that, but I would also like to have a representative from Shire Glen Green available to answer any questions at that meeting, so I will work on getting that done.
Very good. Have they managed to get all the wrinkles out? I see the mayor, Shavon, is yes, okay. All right, any questions? All right, so that'll be on for first reading, and hopefully someone from Matthews Hollow will be here representing that. All right. Next, in other business, Governor DeWine has appointed Councilwoman Jennifer Fenderbosch to the Materials Management Advisory Council, otherwise known as the MMAC. And she has asked that she be able to take her oath of office for that governor's appointment. Before she does that, though, I would like to ask her, is there anything you want to tell us about this appointment?
I do. So this appointment was first put together as a combination of several different commissions within the state. And when it first came about, I was first appointed there by another governor. And I represent all of the municipalities in Ohio. The Ohio Materials Management Advisory Council, which we call MMAC, provides advice and guidance to the director of the Ohio EPA on solid waste issues, including updates to the state solid waste management plan and the Ohio EPA's recycling and litter prevention grant programs. The council is also tasked with facilitating partnerships that expand markets for recycled commodities, such as what Mrs. Goodwin was talking about with the composting here in Lorraine County. We were involved in that. The council is comprised of 13 members appointed by the governor to serve for 3-year terms. The composition of the council is designed to include key stakeholders in Ohio's comprehensive solid waste management system and includes representatives from solid waste management districts. Someone represents all the health districts. Someone represents all the counties. I represent the municipalities. Someone represents the townships. Someone represents statewide environmental advocacy groups. There's several. And then private sector industries, there's several. And the general public is also represented. And to give you an idea of where the funds come from for these grants that are given out, last year, the controlling organization with the state of Ohio was able to give out and allow MMAC to give out over $5.1 million for the grants. The money comes from penalties and also from fees. Most of it is from the tire collection and also from CCD, which is your construction and your demolition industries. So recycling is very strong in Ohio, and one day I will come in and I will give you a 5-minute tutorial on what is happening in Ohio with recycling, because new things are happening here that are not happening in any other state. We're one of the leaders. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Law Director, if you would
Yes.
give her her oath of office.
Come up here, face the light with us. Which way you want to face?
This is good.
Audience.
Oh, the audience? Okay.
Well,
Hi, guys.
raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your full name,
I, Jennifer Fenderbosch,
promise and swear
promises to swear
to support the Constitution of the United
to
States,
support the Constitution of the United States,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and to fully discharge the duties of office
and to fully discharge the duties of office
as a member of the Materials Management Advisory Council,
as a member of the Materials Management Advisory Council,
to which I've been appointed
to which I have been appointed
by Governor Mike DeWine
by Governor Mike DeWine
for the term designated.
for the term designated.
This I shall do,
This I shall do,
as I shall answer unto God.
and I shall answer unto God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We also have a congratulations to your appointment to serve on Materials Management Advisory Council. Your experience and knowledge will continue to be vital in your new role. Thank you for your support to public service, and please stay in touch. From Frank LaRose, Secretary of State, and also a certificate from the Governor's Executive Department. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank
I'll
you.
have you sign this.
I feel very honored to do this. Thank you.
We'll do it right up here.
We'll do it up here.
Sign 2 copies.
Okay, sir. This one right here.
Right there. Okay. One more there.
Thank you.
Got my certificate. And you're good.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you very much. So that you guys know what I do on MMAC, not only do I represent the municipalities, but I'm also their secretary, like Secretary of State. So I'm all in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is to go over the legislation that we're looking at for next week. We have a second reading on the text amendments. Mr. Reynolds, any comments on that at all?
No further comments, thank you.
All right, so we'll have that as a second reading. Next on the agenda, we have first readings as determined at the collective committee meeting. We do have some charter amendment resolution that is being prepared that will be relative to a charter amendment that was proposed to us and sent to the Board of Elections. We also have next is Matthew Hollow subdivision. improvement plans. That's going to be on as a first reading. As far as I know, we haven't received a request for any kind of suspension of the rule on that.
That is correct.
Okay. Next is the resolution for the grant for the, I should put my glasses on, the grant for the power plant remediation that we discussed at length here this evening. The next is the purchase of the police vehicles that will be on as an ordinance, I believe. And the next one I have is the First Energy Tree Grant, which, is that gonna be a motion or a resolution or an ordinance? Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Mr. Liskovic, do you remember what they needed? We'll give it to Valerie. We have a copy of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then, so is there any questions or comments on any of those that we have coming up for first readings? Yes, Mr. Shamir.
Yes, can we get that brownfield grant resolution forward to us later? I mean, earlier rather than later?
You'll get it this week. You'll get it by Wednesday.
Yeah,
Okay? So
and-
just got it.
And as part of that, I will have the finance committee meeting in case there's other questions at 6 o'clock on the 31st. Then miscellaneous business and announcements. Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you.
I have one, but
Go
you
right
have
ahead.
one as well, so you can go first.
Okay, thank you. I have two. It's real important that everybody who has any family members that are either veterans that are deceased and they have the flags, or there are members of their family that are in the fire department or police department that are deceased. All of these flags are being collected in Elyria that are going to, by September the 10th, they are to be brought in, the folded funeral flags, to the main lobby of Elyria City Hall from noon to 4 p.m. on September the 10th. The Lorain County Veterans Service Commission is providing protective flag bags for the event, and they will also put your family's name on it. Then these flags are going to be loaded onto a B-25 bomber, historic B-25 bomber, and a TBM torpedo bomber, and they're going to fly over all the communities, and they're going to be representing all of the first responders, whether police, fire, and also the veterans. Then those flags will then be returned back to the families. This is an article that I found in the Lorain Journal. Clara did a really good job of putting it in there. I think it's very important for people to know about. The second one is a flyer that's been all over Facebook, I'm sure, and it has to do with the Pop Tab competition. Our own fire department was at the county when it was being announced, and I congratulate them. The Lorain County Police versus the Fire EMS Pop Tab competition benefits the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Northeast Ohio. And you can collect your pop bottle tabs. You can take them into the police, the fire department, and you can drop them off up until December. And these aluminum tabs are then all taken down to Ronald McDonald, and it's part of their fundraising. It's just a real friendly competition. They're trying to see who can get to 1 million tabs first, and the winning team receives a dessert tray from Bread and Brew.
Thank you very much. Any other miscellaneous business or announcements? Yes, Mr. Shamir.
Yes, there will be a Ward 1 meeting tomorrow at the library at 5:30. And also, there has been a change to my phone number, and that's, I think, now posted onto the city's website. So that number is now 216-526-2502, and that is already, I think, posted on the city's website.
Should you repeat that?
Thank you.
216.
All right, well, my announcements, a difficult one for me to make this evening because I'm sad to say that Amy Gentry today did submit that she's going to be resigning from the city council for personal reasons. She has worked very hard for her residents in Ward 3. We will have to take measures to fill her spot, which will be very difficult to do. But I am very, very sad to see her go. Ms. Gentry, is there anything that you would like to say?
I just wanted to say that serving the ward has been a true honor, and I'm very grateful for the opportunity to support the ward. And this was not a very easy decision, but it was the right one for me. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have been able to serve.
Thank you. And, you know, I have had discussions and I support your decision. I'm not happy about it. It will take effect, as I understand it, August 31st at 11:59 p.m. So following our next meeting. At that point, we will be needing resumes. They would be submitted to the clerk of council to fulfill her term. That seat would be for people in the 3rd Ward. So if you are in the 3rd Ward, certainly get your resume, and we will be setting up meetings to talk to the folks, similar to when I was appointed as council at large about 2 years ago. So I thank you all. That will be on for a motion to accept her resignation from council. Anything further? Thank you all. The meeting's adjourned.